911.
We're all the way live?
Yeah, I think we're here. Are we here? Hello?
Hello, we're here.
Are you here?
Whoa, everybody. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. It's real vile time. That's right. I'm your host, Mr. Germ T. Ripper, along with the Prime Minister, the Sinister, Mr. Ruthless Chris. Say hello to the people, Ruthless Chris.
Hey.
And of course, as always, we have the Tower of the Hour,
That's right.
the Princess of Power.
Okay.
That's right, baby. I just came up with that off the cuff.
That's a good
the
one.
Killer, Kelli Miller.
Hey. Hey.
Hey. All right, all the hays. Got 3 hays from Chris, 3 hays from Kelli. I gave you like 6 hays. Now it's time to get the show on the road. But first, what's everybody been up to?
Go ahead.
Things. I don't know. I've not too much, you know. Went and seen a friend this weekend and I don't know. Then hung out with Chris. What?
Of course you hung out with Chris.
What is happening?
What are you doing?
I'm sorry.
Put it on mute.
It was an ad playing on my letterboxed screen out of nowhere. I was like, shit.
You seem more shocked like it was going to be something much more nefarious than just a pop-up ad. Like the look on your face.
I know. I thought it was like fucking Peapod like pranking us or something. Like, why are these sounds? Why do I hear a baby crying all of a sudden? Although it does go with the theme of all my movies, and you'll see what's up.
Crying babies?
Basically, mothers crying babies, you know, also goes with the theme of our main movie this week.
For the listeners, Kelli loves films that has kids in crises.
Mm-hmm. We've discovered.
Apparently. You're right, man. I don't even try to do that.
That was actually the voice of God coming through to call her out. So
Yes. Like the Mother's Day card that I have yet to send, this is a Mother's Day episode after Mother's Day.
we're weekly.
We mean well. It's the thought that counts. That's the theme. It's the thought that counts, and that's what we're rolling with. All right, real vile. The thought that counts. Yeah. So that's all the excitement that's really been going on. We haven't been doing too much. We've just been in and out, hanging out, doing the things that we do. Why don't we just jump into it then? What have you been watching there, Mr. Ruthless Chris?
All right. I'll start off with one. This one I know is polarizing. You either love it or hate it. From my letterbox, I know that Germ loves it. And some of our other listeners that I know loved it. This was Velocipastor, 2018 by Brendan Steerer. This was my first time watching it, which is odd. You'd think I would have gotten around to this much earlier with the amount of dog shit I like to ingest. And there's something about like intentional dog shit I don't get around to as quickly. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I'll watch like Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter, which is intentional dog shit, but like stuff like this, I'm like, I'll wait. So, but I was pleasantly surprised. I had a lot of fun. It definitely knows exactly what it is and how to lean into it. The main character looked a lot like Eli Roth, which really tripped me out. The guy that played the Velocipastor. You can tell that these guys, you know, they had like $15, but they were like, let's go have a lot of fun. You can tell everybody in the movie was having fun. It's very gory. You got a dinosaur costume that would make Carnosaur look like Jurassic Park. Basically, you got a priest who gets stabbed by a velociraptor tooth. He turns into like a were-raptor situation, you know, like where you can go back and forth. Meanwhile, there's a side story of a love thing going on with a hooker. There's some good visual gags in this thing. They'll have shots that they couldn't afford the special effects shots, so it'll like go to a frame and it'll just be like insert car fire explosion here, but it'll just be the words of no car, no fire, no nothing, which I thought was pretty funny. It definitely was a lot of fun. It wore its heart on its sleeve. I can see why a lot of people didn't like this thing. You have to kind of be, like a fucking weirdo to enjoy it. Like you just like camp. But I'd recommend it. It was a brisk watch. I think it was like barely over an hour. I watched on Tubi. I give it 3.5.
Hell yeah.
Have you seen this movie, Kelly?
No, I have not. I've passed it up on Tubi, but I have not watched it.
You have to watch Velocipastor. I was fortunate enough to see it during the Chicago Horrorama Film Festival, where basically you don't know anything about the movies. I mean, you know the titles, but that's about it. It's kind of like when I was doing a lot of movie reviews and stuff, and I was thoroughly impressed. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love how meta and sort of self-aware it is. And for how stupid and low budget it is, it's also really smart. Like that scene you were talking about, Chris, where it's insert car fire here. Yeah. I popped so hard for that. I laughed. I laughed from beginning to end. So yeah, I've seen it in the theater. I've watched it on Tubi. I own the Blu-ray. I've watched the making of Velocipastor on the Blu-ray. I'm a big fan of this movie. I don't remember what I gave it, but evidently I must have given it like 4 or 5 stars. Yeah, 4.
Yeah, 4.
I definitely recommend it to anybody that's a fan of genre cinema and or trauma or anything silly or stupid.
Yeah. It definitely has kind of that like party vibe that Trauma does. Like it doesn't have that full on like shock vibe that Trauma has, but it has that like party on set vibe, like especially the ninja stuff.
Yeah.
Those feel like people talking in a room and out of nowhere 3 ninjas just come flipping through the windows. Kind of like what we saw over the weekend, Kelly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. we were downtown. All right. Story time real quick. We were downtown. We were heading to a bar. I don't know, killing some time. And like there's an apartment building on like a main road downtown, and we just see this dude like full on run, like through the fucking screen, pull the blinds out with him. And this is like what, 2nd story up?
Yeah, 2 stories up. He blasts through the screen, through the blinds. The window is up, but he went through the screen, the blinds, like flew out of this window, and then just like when he landed, just proceeded to like normally walk, like nothing was going on. Like homeboy totally got caught railing somebody he shouldn't or something. But anyway, it just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
That sounds hilarious.
Vibes. Ninjas.
Yeah. It's silly, it's funny. Highly recommend Velocipastor, anybody who likes to have fun. And if you don't like to have fun, then you probably shouldn't be listening to this podcast.
I hate
fun. And we probably would not be friends because, I really like having fun. Anyways, fun. Let's keep the party train going. Let's keep the terror train going. And Kelly, what have you been watching? What do you want to talk about?
All right. Well, this week I stuck to a mother theme for Mother's Day, and we're going to start this off with Grace, 2009. This one's on Tubi. This movie was awesome, actually. This follows Madeline. After 2 miscarriages, she's trying again, and she finally makes it. She's super hopeful with this baby, which she named Grace. And then she gets into a car accident, 8 months pregnant. It kills her husband, and it kills her unborn baby. But since she's so close, she decides to carry the baby to term and birth it naturally. Well, when she has the stillborn baby, she's still like she holds it for a second, and the baby is like miraculously alive. And everybody's like, oh shit, this baby's going to be fine. But no, it's not. Like, there's a bunch of flies that are constantly around it, which has this and then she soon discovers that it only has a taste for blood. It won't drink milk. So this thing's just like chewing off her fucking nipple. Like they're getting super raw. And she's kind of going crazy. Like, what do I feed this baby? She starts like, I don't want to get too far into it, but she finds ways to get this baby blood. It's a pretty fucked up movie, man. It's gory as shit. It kind of goes into like a psychological thing, like what the mother would do for this baby, like what she would go through to make sure her baby's okay. But man, this was a really fucking good one. It's gory as shit. It keeps you like engulfed in it. I'd highly recommend. I'd give it a 3.5, 4, honestly. Have you guys seen this?
Was this your first time watching, Grace?
No, I actually own it, but it's the first time I watched it in some years.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that I've watched it since it was originally released on DVD because there was a lot of chatter. There was a lot of talk about it. There was a lot of coverage on it from different websites.
It's pretty brutal. You know, like some of the scenes are pretty fucking brutal, actually. Like
I remember I bought it as soon as it came out and I was thoroughly impressed. And it doesn't look like the director really did any more horror, much other horror. It looks like
Soleil. I didn't say that.
Looks like he's done mostly action and or sci-fi stuff.
I've seen that. But
horror stuff. But I mean, Grace is such a brilliant movie.
It is.
Yeah, I definitely give it.
Kind of in the same vein of like It's Alive or something, but less cheesy.
Yeah, it's like It's Alive, but like really intense and really brutal. Mm-hmm. I give it a 4 stars, definitely.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris? You seen Grace?
I have not seen this in a number of years. I was one of those people that I heard all the internet chatter, and I think I saw like Fangoria write-ups and stuff about it, and I ended up kind of buying it blind, like knowing kind of like the vein it was going in, that It's Alive, the suckling kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But this thing, from what I remember, it really kicked a lot of ass. There was like a lot of weird pregnancy movies that came out around that time, like Proxy and Inside and all that, and I just remember it being very, very good.
Yeah, man, this one was good. Highly recommend.
Very cool. Good to hear it's on Tubi.
It is on Tubi. Yes.
Did we say what movie we were covering tonight?
No, I don't think we did. I don't even think we got into that. We're sticking with the mom theme. We said that, but we didn't introduce our movie.
We were just rolling right into it. We're just getting
It was the weird baby crying, dude, at the right fucking minute.
your pop-up screen like really just fucked the whole like vibe of the show. And Peapod, you just gotta leave that in. You gotta leave that shit.
Well, or did we mention it? We mentioned it like before we started recording. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. Well, so now that we're a couple movies in, our spoiler movie will be John Waters' 1994 masterpiece, Serial Mom. So that's what we'll be talking about. We're a week late on Mother's Day. We should have did this last week, but we mean well.
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have Germ last week. We had, Bigfoot week.
Yeah. We had our guest Remington Aurora, who did a great job talking about Bigfoot. We had Bigfoot on to talk about fucking Bigfoot.
No, sounds like you guys had a lot of fun last week, and Grace is a great movie. I highly recommend that one as well. Looks like we're on a roll. We're watching some good movies.
I've got good movies this week, I believe. Yeah,
I'm going to talk about a pooper that's fun to watch. I'm going to talk about a poopy movie that's fun to watch.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I'm going to talk about 2 movies really quick. Okay. The first one is the 1980 video nasty classic directed by Lloyd Kaufman's brother, Charles Kaufman. It is Mother's Day.
Oh, shit. I almost watched this, too. I'm happy somebody did.
Yeah. It looks like it's going to be campy and wacky, and it is. I mean, because there's a scene... There's a character in it where they keep talking about, and it turns out to the character's like a werewolf or a wolf woman that lives in the woods. And I'm kind of glad that there's a good amount of cheese, but it also is brutal. Like it's got that brutal sort of Last House on the Left vibe. Because anybody who's not familiar with Mother's Day, it's about 2 brothers who kidnap and brutalize 3 women for the pleasure of their demented mother. It's if you don't like sleazy 80s slasher movies, it's going to be hard to watch. Because one, it's not filmed for a whole lot of money. It's very low budget. Two, trying to make a grisly topic like rape and murder wacky with a werewolf woman living in the woods. Just there's a lot of aspects that shouldn't work. I give it 3 stars just because of first nostalgia factor. Although the 2010 remake, or at least reboot, or film by the same name, Mother's Day, by director Darlin Bousman, who did Saw 2 and Repo the Genetic Opera, on the other hand, is an amazing film. I didn't expect anything going into it. I expected it to be a remake, a direct remake of Mother's Day, and it has similar elements, but he takes those elements and he just makes it fucking fantastic. The cast in the 2010 Mother's Day is killer to begin with. I mean, it's just so smart and so well done. I highly recommend the remake of Mother's Day. But the original Mother's Day from 1980, unless you're a fan of like 80s slashers, I can't recommend it too much. You know what I'm saying? So the original I give 3 stars. The remake I give 4.5 stars. Looks like the original is streaming on AMC Plus, Plex, Pluto, Tubi, and the remake is, I'm sure it's got to be streaming on Tubi and everything.
I'm looking and it's not, because
I'm surprised. Freevee. It's on Freevee.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah.
you're right.
Freevee, Plex, Pluto. It says Tubi on IMDb, but I mean,
I'm looking on Letterboxd. It doesn't have any of that on it.
Oh, okay.
It only has
Aren't
the
you
Bible.
Letterbox? But yeah, stars Rebecca De Monet as the mother, and I mean, she was in Risky Business, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. I mean, all these amazing films, and I'm sure a lot of people probably forgot about her, but then to have her reprise this role in Darren Bousman's 2010 remake of Mother's Day is just great. I mean, and yeah, I can't recommend this one enough. Have you guys seen either Mother's Day, the 1980 film or the 2010 film?
I seen the 80s one years ago, but I have a vague memory of that one. I don't know. I might have been like drinking or something, but I know I've definitely seen it. Like I can pick up like, bits and pieces of it, but it's something I'd like to watch again. I'm glad you watched it.
I've seen the original quite a few times. It's definitely an entertaining film. Definitely not for everybody. You got to be a splatterhead for that one. Have not seen this remake. I didn't realize that it was. Like I'm. It takes me a minute to get around to a lot of these remakes because a lot of them kind of suck. Most of them suck. And Mother's Day was like, there's no way they're gonna, especially with the cover they had on it, because it just had a woman crossing her arms on the front, and I was just like, huh. But you've made me interested. I'm definitely gonna have to check it out now. So I added it to my watch list, and I will watch it soon.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I didn't expect anything from it, and when I saw a friend of mine who's no longer with us, Mike McBeardo McPadden, he saw it in the theater at a Music Box, and he raved about it. I was like, oh well, let me check this out as soon as possible. And I either bought it or rented it, or it was streaming somewhere. I don't know what it was, but I watched it and I was blown away. It's just really well done, and yeah, it's more of a rework, or what would you call it? It's not really a remake anyway. Reboot. Yeah, it's more of a reboot. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, highly recommend Mother's Day 2010, Mother's Day 1980. Recommend for a specific audience, and that's probably the listeners of Real Vile.
Yeah.
But let's keep the terror train rolling. And Ruthless Chris, what do you got next for us, baby?
I don't know how I ended up watching this. like Kelly's seen the method of my mayhem. It's really strange how I get around to like picking my movies. The This one may have been a made-for-TV movie. I'm not sure. I'm just going by how it felt. It has two different names. It's either I Can Make You Love Me or Stalking Laura. 1993, directed by Michael Switzer. And this stars Richard Thomas, who you may remember from the original It movie, and Brooke Shields. I would put this more on the side of exploitation than horror. But it's basically the telling of a true story of a guy who gets obsessed with a coworker. He ends up getting fired because he starts showing up at her fucking house and like following her around and shit. Tries to get a restraining order. That shit's not working. You know, he's showing up everywhere she goes, like, you know, basically showing that, you know, you're not going to be able to get away from me. And then it pretty much, it's him collecting weapons and munitions to go have a slaughter at their place of business. It's based on a true story. And apparently it's pretty spot on to what the true story is. Like I said, it has a made for TV quality to it, but it is pretty shockingly violent at the end. Pretty well told. Actors are great in it. It's a slow burn. Definitely not for everybody. This is a kind of a weird watch for me because normally I only watch, you know, splatterific or weird shit, but this was, I don't know, something about the trailer kind of grabbed me, so I watched it. I gave it 3.
Okay.
3 stars. What was it streaming on again?
I believe Tubi. Yeah, Tubi. Yeah.
They had a couple different titles, huh?
So there's I Can Make You Love Me, or there's Stalking Laura. So when I watched it, it was under Stalking Laura. But when the credits roll itself, like when the title screen comes up, it says I Can Make You Love Me.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I mean, I like the premise that you talked about. Definitely have to check that one out. Sounds like a lot of fun. My kind of fun.
I feel like I tried this and didn't finish it or something because that Stalking Laura.
You were around while I was watching part of this.
Okay, because that sounded really familiar.
Very cool. Very cool. Killer Kelly, what you got, baby?
This one was fun, man. 1991's Unborn. The Unborn. It is directed by, this is crazy. This is directed by Rodman Flender. This was his first movie, but he's done a lot of TV series such as The Office, Party of Five, fucking Dawson's Creek, the Scream series, Idle Hands, a couple Tales for the Crypt episodes, and Leprechaun 2. I was like, okay. But this was his first movie. This is The Unborn in 1991. Oh, it's also not starring, Lisa Kudrow from Friends is in it. She's just like a secretary in the doctor's office. I was like, huh. But anyway, this follows Virginia and her husband, Brad. They're struggling to have a baby, and somebody suggests that they go see Dr. Meyerling because he's really good at in vitro fertilization, you know. And right away, she kind of gets pregnant. She thinks everything's going pretty good. And, you know, after a minute, she starts getting, like, really worried that shit ain't right because she's getting this rash and, like shit's not right, you know? Come to find out, this dude is a genetic engineer, the doctor that did it, and he's doing some weird experiments on pregnant women to grow, like, some sort of... they don't really let that out to the end, what they're growing. Most of this movie goes into this woman's paranoia about what the fuck's, like, growing in her. And once they finally do show the baby, dude, just great practical effects. This movie has babies bursting out of stomachs. This was a good one, dude. It was gory as shit, but, like, early 1991 gore. I don't know, man. I enjoyed this. I don't want to go too much into what it is, but the actress that played Virginia, Brooke Adams, she did great at acting like really hysterical. I really loved her role in this. But I don't know. Yeah, the doctor's fucked up. He's a genetic scientist and he's experimenting on women. And like a famous line in this at the end is like, "We don't need mothers anymore," which you'll see why later. But yeah, man, this movie was pretty sweet actually for what it was. It was like great, cheesy, like campy gore, you know, really campy, but it was a good one, man. I enjoyed. I give this one 3.5, 4 maybe.
3.5, 4 for The Unborn. Is it streaming somewhere?
Tubi and Plex.
Very cool. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this one, surprisingly enough. I mean,
Yeah, Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I think I might have it mixed up with a few other movies that I'm thinking of off the top of my head, but I don't think now that you've actually like gone through the plot and everything, I don't think I've seen The Unborn. I'm not sure.
There's a bunch of movies called The Unborn, so look for the one that's from 1991. Like I said, I was looking for like, pregnancy mothers movies this week. So stumbled across a bunch of unborns and I was like, 91, that's a good year. And run it. So
Sweet.
yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
I definitely recommend it. It's campy, it's fun, it's fucking not everybody's gonna enjoy it. We would, But yeah.
Chris, have you seen 1991's The Unborn?
I have not. I can't even picture the cover, honestly.
It looks similar to like The Progeny. Remember that Alien movie? That's what the cover kind
And
of
the
looks
baby
like.
bottle, the alien in the baby bottle.
Kinda. It looks similar. It's got like an alien-like baby thing,
It's just like a black cover with an embryo on it, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I can picture it, but I don't think I've ever seen it. So
Check it out, man. It's worth a watch. So like I had fun with this one. When it started, I was like, okay. Because it literally starts with like a baby ripping out of someone's stomach. Like right off the rip, I was like, okay, I know what's up.
All right.
I love it when you say okay.
I can dig it.
Can you say okay one more time? Because I really like that.
Okay.
Very, very cool. Yes, that sounds like a winner chicken dinner. So if you haven't seen 1991's Unborn, run, don't walk to Tubi and check it out. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about much more serious, much more art housey type film, and that is Darren Aronofsky's 2017's Mother! !
I almost watched this one as well. Like this was what I was like, oh, do I want to watch that? Crazy you did.
Yeah, I feel like this is a very divisive film. I love this movie, and a lot of people hated this movie. And it's it's got a very A24 film feel to it, and it doesn't explain itself. And if you're not willing to think about it for a while afterwards, you're just going to be like, oh, that was a pile of shit. I love movies that are, beautiful and pretentious for the sake of being pretentious. And that's kind of how this comes across a lot of times. The description says that it's a couple's relationship is tested when uninvited guests arrive at their home, disrupting their tranquil existence. So I remember watching the trailer and it kind of comes across as like a home invasion film or something like that. And when I finally got around to watching it, it's so much more bizarre than that.
Yeah.
And the latest movie that kind of made me think of it was that movie Men that came out last year.
Yeah.
Just because, it's weird and artsy, but really terrifying at the same time and really smart and unnerving. I think unnerving is the best word to describe this film. Took me a while to really wrap my brain around it and how that, it's all sort of metaphor for how humans treat Mother Earth. And that was the whole thing, was just like the Earth being treated like garbage by humans. And, director Darren Aronofsky is known for traumatizing films, basically. He did Pi and Requiem for a Dream and
Black Swan.
Yeah, really hard to watch films. And this is just like those. It's beautiful, hard to watch, very artistic, great cast. Jennifer Lawrence, Javier Bardem, Ed Harris, just super smart, super well done. I'd have to look it up. I'm pretty sure I gave it five stars on Letterboxd, or it might not even be on Letterboxd. It might have been before I started keeping track of stuff on there. But I definitely give it 5 stars. I love this movie. You guys have seen Mother then?
Yeah.
What do you guys think of it?
I enjoyed it. I had to watch it twice. I was confused by it the first time around. And then I had to watch it again, like after knowing, just kind of break it down a little. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd give it about a 4.
I watched it twice as well. As you guys know, I like to really pick shit apart when I watch it. And that one was deep metaphor.
Yeah.
I didn't really like it so much the first time I watched it, but I think it was just like it's overwhelming a little bit, you know.
There's a lot, yeah.
And then going back in, like kind of knowing where it was going, and like then seeing like the little setups and stuff for it, and the little things I wasn't picking up before. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely not a casual watch. This is the kind of thing you don't want to watch with like a bunch of your friends. They'll ruin their fucking night, or like a date. But like if like he said with men or something like that, like if you enjoy those kind of films, like strap in, and it's a kind of a fucking wild ride. I really do like a lot of the films that Aronofsky does, and this definitely feels very much an Aronofsky movie. I don't think a lot of other people could have pulled this one off, you know. I think almost ruined his fucking career, didn't it?
I wouldn't doubt it, because I mean there were people posting almost immediately after they saw it that they hated the movie, that they wanted to walk out of it, blah blah blah. And I was like, when I saw it, it blew my mind how unnerving and amazing it was. How many stars would you give this one, Chris?
I would give it 3.5. Just because like I don't think it's like a super great film. There's just a lot of cool shit going on, but I wouldn't consider it like a great movie, you know.
Fair enough.
But I do remember like when it came out in theaters, there was like a huge backlash, and then it didn't make any money, and then they were like, "This is the last time you get to make a theater fucking film," and all that kind of shit. So it'll be interesting to see what he does from this.
For those of you who haven't seen Mother! By Darren Aronofsky, and you would like to, it's available to stream on Paramount Plus. Otherwise, let's do one more round of this before we get on to our main film, Serial Mom. Ruthless Chris, could you take it away, please?
So this is another one that I personally really enjoyed and would recommend, but I see it just getting eviscerated by people online. Like people just do not seem to like this movie, and I cannot fathom why. Like I really had a blast with this. Is Underwater 2020 by William Eubank, starring Kristen Stewart, Vincent Cazorla, and T.J. Miller. This is, I really enjoy my aquatic horror. You know, like I like sea monsters, tendrils, all that. This has all that shit. Basically, got I think it's a drilling facility, kind of similar to like the Abyss or something like that. Like an underwater drilling facility. And this one doesn't introduce you to all the characters and then the tragedy happens. Like it happens right off the rip. Something goes wrong, and then the characters get introduced as they find each other. And you kind of learn who they are through their interactions. You know, like you're following Kristen Stewart around the whole time. Something bad happens with the rig. It's pretty much imploding, like, flooding, all this, and they gotta like put on scuba gear and walk from one rig to another. But as they find out, there is a lot of these monsters in the water. This one, I mean, it's PG-13. There's not a lot of bad language, not a lot of gore, but it's heavy on the horror. There's a lot of good scares in this thing, and there's an ending I can't believe not a lot of people are talking about. That like something makes a giant appearance at the end, and it's a really fucking cool sequence that it's like a good like last fourth of the movie. Like it's not just a small appearance, but like people usually go nuts about this type of character in a movie, and no one seems to be talking about this one. It's one of the coolest representations I've seen in a while. So I personally would recommend Underwater. I've watched it a few times now, and I've had a blast with it every time. You can currently watch it on Hulu. Originally it was on HBO, but I think it's on Hulu now. But yeah, I would recommend it. I gave this thing 4. I think it's a highly underrated film. Definitely worth checking out. Don't let the PG-13 hurt you, because it's a fucking underwater movie, even if people were bleeding to go into the fucking water anyway. So the only caveat to give you is if you find T.J. Miller annoying, which a lot of people do, he's really fucking annoying in this movie.
Fair enough. Underwater on Hulu. And how many stars did you say you gave that one?
4.
4. That sounds
really
like a goodie.
Yeah,
sounds like a goodie.
Okay.
Definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, never seen it.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, no.
Probably skipped over it a million times.
Yeah, probably.
It hit theaters. It got bad reviews, but I see why, because it's it's a fucking horror movie with Kristen Stewart in it, and everyone expects Twilight and teeny bopper stuff, and this is much more adult driven. I'd compare this to The Abyss with monsters, honestly.
Okay.
Like it really has that like claustrophobic feel. Like they're going through flooded chambers of like a broken drilling rig and all this. That's like the bottom of the ocean. They're in the bottom of the ocean this whole movie. So yeah,
Very cool. Well, yeah, you've piqued my interest. I will definitely check that out. And the elusive, this character, this monster, is, kind of got my mind spinning. Ooh,
I know,
what
me
could he be
too. I'm
talking
sitting
about?
here like, is it a Loch Ness monster? Is it a Kraken? Is it a Cthulhu? Is
Yeah.
it,
Something. But
Hmm.
yeah, anyway, so yeah, definitely check that out. Underwater, Hulu. Good times. Killer Kelly, what you got for us, baby doll?
The next one I watched was also on Hulu. This is 2020 Run. This is probably my least favorite of the week, but it was watchable. The storyline was pretty predictable and basic. Follows Chloe. She's a teenager. She's 17. She's, been homeschooled by her mom her whole life. And there's some plot holes in this. But, I mean, she starts noticing her mom's acting weird and like kind of knows there's something going on. Basically, you get it right off the rip. The mom has like Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and she's been, like you get it right off the rip. So basically, this girl's she finds out, and like a lot of the movies, her finding out and then trying to get away from her mom. And like I said, it's predictable as shit, but it was a decent watch. It wasn't bad at all. The acting in it was good, and it kept my attention.
is this
Besides,
the movie based on that true story?
no, you're thinking that Gypsy Rose story.
Yeah,
I don't
Gypsy
remember what
Rose
that's
or
called, but
something.
it's very similar. Very similar to that true story. That's a different, yeah, that's different. But I mean, yeah, it's the same situation, This one, it was just there's not a lot I can really say about it, but it was watchable. I'd probably give it a 3. Like it wasn't terrible. The acting was great in it. Like I think that's what saved the movie from its like boring plot line, and predictability. But yeah, I mean they kept you going. It was definitely more of a thriller than a horror movie. That's for sure. I believe it's PG-13. I didn't realize that till after, but not bad. Not bad. I give it a 3.
All right, 3 Hulu, and what was the title of this one again?
Run.
Run, just RUN.
Yep. Run.
Okay. Yeah, I know that there like a series on HBO by the same title.
Perhaps. The mom is played by Sarah Paulson of the American Horror Story series.
Her name was Sarah Paulson.
Her name, yeah.
Well, that has me interested. I do like some Sarah Paulson.
And the girl that played Chloe actually was fucking great at it. The girl that played in the wheelchair.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the acting saved this movie. It was decent.
Very cool.
Mhm.
Very cool. Good to know. Good to know. Might have to. Man, there are lots of good movies to check out. We're recommending some good stuff, babies. Anyways, one last movie to talk about before we get on to our main movie. I'm going to talk about 2019. I think it's directorial debut from Pollyanna McIntosh, which, she's mostly known for her role on probably The Walking Dead. She also starred in the movie that this is a sequel to, which is 2011's The Woman. But the movie I'm talking about is Darlin.
It's another good one.
Yeah. So I saw this during the last Cinepocalypse Film Festival, and I was excited to see it because it's so amazing. It's so well done. And the Woman is done by Lucky McKee. We're all fans of his. McKee. He does amazing films that feature strong female characters and that are really smart and really brutal. And it's great to see, like, he always sort of like keeps things going, but with puts women first, you know what I mean? And it's great to see Pollyanna McIntosh take on the directorial take on the director seat here, and having the the writers are her and Jack Ketchum and Lucky McKee. I mean, it's just, it has so much power and such a creative force behind it. And it's filthy and it's brutal and the violence is great. The acting is great. Everything is top notch. I give it 5 stars, definitely. And it's hard to describe. It's hard to say because this is actually the third in a trilogy. The first movie was The Offspring, which
really
I did not realize that.
it was like one of those like 9 films to keep you awake series or whatever.
Yeah, from 2009.
Okay, I've never saw it, but I was always curious about it.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize this is like part of a series. I'll have to check that out.
Right. And yeah, because The Woman wasn't like a direct sequel, but like you can see where it goes from Offspring to The Woman to Darlin. And I like that they are all standalone films too. But with Darlin, you get this this teenage girl who's filthy and feral, and she's brought to this Catholic hospital, and she's run by nuns, and they want to change her, and she kind of turns into this good girl, and then Pollyanna McIntosh comes out of the wild, and she wants her daughter, and she just rams through everything, bites and claws through the world until gets what she wants. And it's an amazing film. So if you haven't seen Darlin, I highly recommend it. Have either of you seen this? It sounded like you've seen this before, Kelly.
Yes, I have seen this. It's been a while. It's been, since it came out. I like, now that you mentioned it, I definitely want to give it a rewatch. I also didn't realize that was Lucky McKee. May is one of my favorite movies, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I'd probably give this a 3.5, 4 from what I remembered it.
Yeah, Lucky McKee directed The Woman, and he helped write this one.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But yeah, have you seen
it
that
as well? Yeah.
Cool.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what do you think about Darlin? What are your thoughts on Darlin?
I thought it was a very strong movie. I had no idea. I must have blanked on the credits or something. I had no idea Lucky McKee or Ketchum was involved in it. I just thought, it has a really striking movie cover, and I just kind of like clicked on it because I believe it was on Shudder at one point, maybe. But yeah, definitely highly recommend it. Very good movie. Very, very, very fucked up. I could definitely see the Ketchum in it too. Ketchum, his crime stories have a certain lane to them, if you know what I mean. And this is definitely in that lane.
Yeah, where can we watch this? Sorry.
If you haven't seen Darlin, it's streaming on AMC Plus, Peacock, Plex, Roku, Tubi. So you've got no excuses not to see it. And all-star directors, writers, cast, everything's amazing. I was lucky enough to meet Pollyanna McIntosh and Lucky McKee at the film festival, the Cinepocalypse, when they premiered this film. So that's definitely a highlight for me. But that wraps up our round robin of talking about films. I think choo choo. Next stop is Spoiler Town. Spoiler Town. Next stop is Spoiler Town.
And now for our feature presentation.
Yes, we're going to talk about Serial Mom. Oh my goodness gracious gravy. 1994 sure was crazy seeing my favorite director of all time, Mr. John Waters, cast somebody at the time. I think Kathleen Turner was known as a serious actress in a role of a serial killer.
John Waters film.
John Waters film. Yeah, it was I think it was kind of like his send-up of like a more of a true crime thriller, but it's definitely John Waters, and it's very funny. Anybody who's not familiar with it, it's about a mom who's a perfect American parent, and she's a cook and a homemaker and devoted recycler, and she'll literally kill to keep her children happy. I love this movie.
Yeah.
But before I keep going on and on, I'll let you guys talk a little bit about it. What do you think about it, guys?
I love this movie, man. I love most of John Waters' movies. Like it does it has the same like silly feel that like Pecker had, or or even like Hairspray, kind of in a way, but it's a little darker. The cast is great. You got the Ricky Lake, you got fucking Matthew Lillard. You know, the usual suspects from John Waters movies. What do you think, Chris?
I think that John Waters definitely has like eras of the style of or type of movie he makes. Like the first ones were definitely like shock and more exploitation.
Pink Flamingos, yeah.
Yeah, your Pink Flamingos, your Female Troubles, you know, stuff like that. And when he got more into the 80s, it felt more like he was like sending up sitcoms and doing like more his own weird spin on what would be a Hollywood type movie and like Crybaby or Hairspray, but like just through that really weird John Waters lens. And I think this one kind of lands on the cusp of that. And when you start going towards like Pecker and Cecil B. Demented and all that kind of style, like it's got a little bit of both in it, if that makes sense.
I see it, especially with the Pecker.
Yeah.
I see the Pecker.
Like it definitely the world itself feels like it's taking place in a very clean 50s sitcom.
Yeah.
Dirty stuff being shoehorned in all the time, you know?
Kind of like Beetlejuice at the time, you know, like the bright.
I would say more like Edward Scissorhands, if anything.
That's what I meant, not Beetlejuice. Edward. That's exactly what I meant. Like, I was picturing the Neighborhood, but yeah. Like I was thinking like early Burton in a way, but John Waters is the feel of it.
You know, that those times for Burton and Waters, they kind of had a little bit of overlap in style, like not a lot. They definitely leaned into like surrealism, and they had their own color palettes, kind of a timeless feel where like just watching it, you can't really like pinpoint what year it should be taking place in, that kind of thing. Yeah.
John Waters is a little more on the trashier side, like, you know, Pink Flamingos and like trailer parks, whereas Burton not as much.
More on the goth side.
More on the goth side, yes.
A little more leather and a little more dark, you know?
Right.
Whereas Waters was more like glamorous drag queens and musical numbers and, you know, like some very vile shit you'd never think you'd see in a movie, you know?
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about a little bit about how many great moments there are and how many great lines there are. Because before we started recording, we talked about how the pussy willows and the cocksuckers and the things.
The brown word.
Yeah.
Don't say the brown word here.
Talk about that for a little while. What do you guys think? How did that propel this movie? Like, you think everything is idealistic, everything is picturesque, and then like things start to unfold. First, one of the first tip-offs is the profanity, but it's used sparingly enough that it's more impactful. Talk a little bit about that, guys.
If I remember correctly, isn't she asked about the prank phone calls before you see her make one? And like, or did that happen after? It happened before. Okay, so you know and you already know she's gonna be a serial killer because of the name of the movie, but like the way she carries herself and when she makes that first fucking phone call, I was on the floor laughing. There was just like, there's nothing in the world that will prepare you for a prank phone call. Kathleen Turner calling someone a pussy cocksucker, motherfucker.
Pussy cocksucker.
And then she calls her back and then like fucking gets her again. Like, oh no, we're from the telephone. We just need to know what those people said. And then like, all right, you're gonna have to say it. Then they get the girl to say it. And she's like, listen to your dirty mouth, you dirty whore. You know, it's just it revels in the fun it's having. This movie is like the tone of this thing and like the way it propels itself, like scene to scene, it's just like it's like a snowball fight with your friends. It's just like endlessly fun.
It's very,
you know,
it's very slapsticky at the same time. You know, like it's got like a slapstick edge to it. It's a fun one.
I can't help but point out also the pre-Scream, you know, Matthew Lillard, but almost in the the role of what's his fucking scream? Randy.
Fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like where he's the horror expert, knows all the rules, is watching all the movies. So I thought that was kind of funny that like they both had like kind of the same role in different movies, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's funny you said that because this is actually Matthew Lillard's first film.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He was surprised that during the filming, like the first day of filming, that Kathleen Turner knew everybody's name. And, he actually asked her, like, why do you do that? And she's like, that's the first thing you do. I think that's amazing,
That's great.
Just dropping those bits of knowledge on somebody just coming up. And, she's a master actress, a master craftsman at acting, and just letting this upstart know that's the first thing you do. That's the first step you do. You learn who you're working with.
She has actually gone on record and said of all the movies she's done, this was her favorite character to be.
Yeah.
She didn't say it was her favorite movie. She said it was her favorite character to play. And I mean, I could even imagine how fun it would have been playing this character, like she beat a bitch to death with a ham bone at one point.
She did.
Little Orphan Annie.
The ham bone. I think that might be my favorite death in the movie, honestly.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, speaking about the deaths, it's funny that, all the deaths are pretty comical. This was my introduction to the works of Herschel Gordon Lewis, because Blood Feast is on the TV multiple times. Yep. There's a Blood Feast poster up in Matthew Lillard's room. But in Herschel Gordon Lewis's films, the punchline to the joke was always the kill. And that was what he did in this as well, which I thought was really smart. And I loved going back to this and looking at Herschel Gordon Lewis films. And, Nightmare on Elm Street starting with part 3 did that as well. And I'm always a big fan of when people can take that. And I'm pretty sure that Herschel Gordon Lewis was probably the first director to do it, where the kill was the punchline to the joke. And this was a great homage to that John Waters did. I know that he's a big fan of Herschel Gordon Lewis as well. And there's a couple other, great cult icons that are featured in this that I hadn't heard of before. So it's besides being what it is, it's also a great wealth of cinematic knowledge. If you like genre film and you want to dig deeper, you just pay attention to the little Easter eggs throughout the film, and you can, dig and learn, which is great. I love that in a movie. But yeah, you were talking about the kills. Chris.
The one thing about the violence in this, it's almost played like a cartoon, though. Like, it's not played horrifically. I think only one kill gets a little gory, which is the guy that stood up, Ricky Lake, when she stabs him. A little chunk of dudes left on it. But I mean, most of it's done kind of tongue in cheek, like the car scene where she runs a guy over, backs over, runs him over a couple times, and the scissor scene where she's more concerned, like she just got stabbed in the gut with some scissors, but she's more concerned about the mouse in her house by her foot, like it's something that's so cartoonish in the way he does it, but it's like it works for the tonality of the film. Like this is a very the film has a specific tone to it, and it's one of those things hard to explain to somebody, but within 3 minutes of watching it, you're like, I know what's going on. Okay, I know what they're doing here, And I think that is very John Waters. And like we were talking earlier with the comparison almost to Tim Burton, John Waters does he does his coloration almost like 50s movies, like we talked about sitcoms, but like the reds are very reds and the greens are very green. Thanks. And like there's like almost like an over brightness to it, almost like what Pearl and stuff did too.
Yeah.
To like give it that throwback, like what movies like Fido and stuff did as well. That really like bring you into the world, like, and you kind of like you get it, you get what's going on, and it's just fucking fun. Like this movie's, I'd watch it again today.
Yeah, honestly, I just watched it today. Like, I rented it. Go for it. But like you were saying with the comedy with the kills, like when the one guy got ran over, there was that stoner that seen it, and she just like looks at her joint like, is this happening? You know? So it does have that like comedy for sure. With the witnesses that see each kill, like when the boyfriend gets killed at the flea market or whatever, she's like, it wasn't just blood on her shoe, it was gore. You know, I love it.
And then there's the big guy that comes in and finds her. Oh!
Doesn't he growl? Is he like? Oh!
Yeah, he lets out like this giant, like he puts his arms on. Oh! Then everybody in the flea market hears it and starts fleeing. God, I wish there was more movies like this. Honestly, I truly do. Wish that John Waters would make more movies. Like, well, more movies in general, but doing one more like serial mom type movie, please.
And he always works in like little trashy things, like the dude sees her through a glory hole in the bathroom, or like
because he's writing "eat me" above the glory hole,
right? Or like the guy at the end when she finds his like, what was it, Chicks with Dicks magazine in the fucking like it's very John Waters and
Chicks with Dicks that put mine to shame.
But me and you had this conversation about how John Waters does that, like how he works in things like that rather than like exploiting it. You know, he has a way of doing that.
Yeah, like originally in a lot of his early films, you know, where a lot of filmmakers would use it as a tool or plot device, you know, he would cast a lot of drag queens and they would just be the characters of his movie. It wouldn't be acknowledged. It wouldn't be a plot point or something that needed to be like discussed or like this is why it's happening. It was like, no, this is just characters in my world.
For the movie, yeah.
And that really gives that like vibe of John Waters where like everything is just a little different here. You know, everything's going to be a little different through his fucking lens, you know? And it doesn't have to be something that's a focus, you know? It's just like, I like weird shit. I like this stuff. It's going to be in my movie, you know?
Yeah, love that John Waters.
And I feel like being a teen in the 90s, having a movie made in 1994, I can definitely identify with the teenage characters here. You know, it doesn't... It's not like a movie like that was made now and it's supposed to take place in the 90s where it's over stylized, but the hair is perfect and the outfits are perfect. And, you know, I feel like having your friends over to watch horror movies and then running into a club and there's L7, of course, in the movie. They're what, Camel Lips, I believe is the name of their band.
Oh, yeah.
L7 is such a strange cameo in that just because of like the whole vibe of the movie. Doesn't seem like this is a world grunge would have like even lived in, you know?
But they all had like extra like camel toe padding. Did you notice that?
Then they made him do the neck dance.
Yeah.
The old cheesy neck dance where they're all God, I love this movie.
I know, I might watch it again tonight, honestly.
I think it's actually brilliant having them in there, just showing how close the pristine suburban life is to the dirtiness of a downtown atmosphere, and also how that, you know, sometimes that suburban mom might be that dirty grunge girl that enjoys slashing people up and laughing about it. And this was also, I feel like it was a little bit ahead of its time, talking about sort of like the serial killer fandom or serial killer culture, like murderabilia. I mean,
what we talked about with Natural Born Killers, yeah. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go on.
No, that's fine. I think it's really an interesting fact too that when she's flipping through her scrapbook, there is an actual hand-painted Christmas card from John Wayne Gacy used in the film, but it's not even. It's not even like mentioned. She just flipping through her scrapbook of murderabilia, and
you're too distracted by that knockout picture of Richard Speck and his fucking grape smugglers.
Absolutely.
And then John Waters on the audio tape as Ted Bundy.
Oh no shit! I didn't realize that either.
Oh, it's clearly him. He doesn't even disguise his voice or anything.
I don't even know why I didn't even like. There was other shit going on, so I wasn't paying attention. Like I don't know, shit.
Yeah, when they play the audio tape, when it's a message from Ted Bundy being lonely on death row, that's just John Waters talking in his normal voice. It's clear as day if you listen for it.
Well, yeah, I love everything about Serial Mom. I don't think it's streaming anywhere for free. You got to pay for it.
$4 on Amazon.
It's worth what is it, like $2.99?
$4, $3.99.
It's definitely worth the $4 if you don't own this.
Mm-hmm.
If you do want to own it, I believe that Scream Factory put out a collector's edition Blu-ray, which I strongly suggest buying it because I'm a fan of physical media. I'm going to give it 4.5 stars just for being super fun, gory, hilarious, cast, direction. Everything about this movie is amazing. So I'm going to give it a 4.5. What do you guys give it?
Yeah, I think a 4.5 is a fair rating. Like, I'm a huge John Waters fan, and like, this is very fucking John Waters, and John Waters at his finest, But yeah, 4.5 is a fair rating. This one's absolute gold, and if you haven't seen it, see it. I actually own it on one of those like 4 movie sets, like those really cheap ones that you find places with like 4 movies on it. That's what I have it on. But
I'm gonna be the odd man out. I'm giving it 5. This is a very rare 5-star for me. I think this is a perfect movie. I don't think there's anything you could trim from it. I don't think there's anything you need to add to it. I think it was perfectly cast. It's fun the whole fucking way through. It's impossible to be bored with this thing. I love this movie. This is a top 10er for me.
You know what? I can't argue with that. I changed my rating to 5 because you're right. There is nothing wrong with this fucking movie. Like, it's absolute gold. It's hilarious. It's fun.
Find a scene that needs to be cut. You can't do it.
No, you can't. Like, it's perfect amount of time. It's, it keeps you up until the very second. Like,
how do we not talk about the sex scene and the masturbation?
Dude, or the ending even, Like,
but it's so specific. Like the sex scenes in a John Waters film or a masturbation scene in a John Waters film is so specific to his style. If you see another director do something similar, that they're inspired by John Waters. Because there's a masturbation scene in Circus of the Dead where the main serial killer is outside the window of one of his victims jerking off, and I'm like, that's John Waters. That they took that directly from John Waters. They took that from Serial Mom.
The giant boobs that are just like
that poor fucking kid that got caught masturbating. He is going to need therapy the rest of his life because he didn't just get caught by one person. He got caught by all his friends, his friends' parents, and the police force. And he's just sitting there just trying to rub one out in his own bedroom, for Christ's sake. And then the Kathleen Turner sex scene, I mean, woof, that was cartoonish as shit. But yeah, I didn't mean to go off on another tangent. I just love this movie. 5 stars
man.
all fucking day.
Yeah. And the end, like, I'm going to give it away because this is our spoiler movie. But, she gets away with it in court. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, on her side. Like, fucking Matthew Lillard, all the kids are like, she's going to be a celebrity. Talk to my agent, all that sort of shit. And then,
it's great.
Go on.
Well, I was just going to say, it's great that, it's poking fun at the celebrity of crime. And then the final scene, the victim is an actress that became a celebrity because of her kidnapping, Patty Hearst,
Oh shit! Yeah,
Patty Hearst is the juror.
Put that together.
I didn't even think about that either. Holy shit! Wow,
that's just more coming off the onion. More coming off the onion. Perfect movie.
Yeah, Patty Hearst, just saying, how much a fan of hers she is, or something like that, and then she goes, "Can't wear white shoes after Labor Day." Things have changed. No, they haven't
changed. No, it hasn't.
I love that. I just love that.
Suzanne Summers realizes it when she gives her that look because Suzanne Summers like. I think that's how it ends, pretty much, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, she hits her with that line like, "You're on my bad side."
Oh yeah, yeah.
A little double meaning there.
So many one-liners, so many great one-liners in this movie. It's gold, dude. This one's absolute gold. You're right, Chris, with the 5-star rating. Fucking John Waters, goddamn classic.
All right, well,
one of my favorite films by him.
Yeah, totally.
Pecker and Cecil B. Demented are up there for me, but yeah.
Definitely, it's John Waters is definitely my favorite director. I've met him a few times. Great person. And so if you haven't seen Serial Mom, rent it, buy it, do whatever you have to do to put it in your eye holes. Enjoy it. Day late and dollar short, but happy Mother's Day from everybody here at Real Vile.
Also, one more thing I want to put in. John Waters is on tour, doing a theater tour right now. So if you want to see John Waters live, he's hitting most of the country right now. I believe he's coming to Detroit soon, and Kelly and I are going to go.
I think
so
that's
go check out those.
September or August. But yeah, go on.
So go check out those tour dates if you want to catch John Waters live.
It's definitely worth it because I know the first time I saw him was his Christmas special, and it was one of the greatest nights of my life. No, the first time I saw him, he was introducing Female Trouble, but where it was just him talking. It was his Christmas special. But my favorite time that I got to meet him was when a friend of a friend got me backstage and was just hanging out backstage, shooting the shit with him, and that's
awesome,
surreal. But yeah, if you love John Waters, if you love serial killer culture, gore, humor, Serial Mom is where it's at. And with that, happy Mother's Day, happy belated Mother's Day. I hope all you mothers had a good time. And besides that, you guys got anything else to give the people in Real Vile Land?
No, not for now. Not this week.
We'll see you next week. We don't know what we're doing yet, but we'll let you know soon.
We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. But keep it spooky, keep it creepy, keep it real vile forever. God bless America and send nudes.
Woo!
Hey, all you cats and kittens, all you ladies and lady killers out there in Real Vile Land. This is your old pal, Mr. Germ T. Ripper, saying keep it spooky, keep it creepy, keep it real vile forever. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share all our content. Ow!